according to their formula of availability of land, is a sound one, so that one municipality or area doesn't soak up all the available sewer when it does become available. I think we also need to look at the stormwater issue. The current plan is, in the county, is a 25-year flood event is used for stormwater prevention. They're discussing a 50, I think we should do 100. That's currently what the town of Indian Trail uses. We also may need to look at a stormwater utility. A stormwater utility is a financing mechanism to get funds for when stormwater issues in the county have to be addressed. In other words, you have a subdivision that came in 5 years ago, and then a new one comes in and overwhelms the system every time there's rain or a large water event. There's no mechanism in place to pay for improvements. As far as commercial development, I think the Monroe Airport is a wonderful resource. I'm also excited about some of the things the county is looking at in a food innovation center in connection with basically a business incubator down in Wingate University. They also have land on Gold Line Road that they're looking at allowing the city of Monroe to annex because they have sewer to expand their business park, which is nearing capacity.
Definitely the number one issue that I've heard and it's been for some time is the growth, and that's why you see my sign that says control growth. It needs to be done. The tax rate, the taxpayers are definitely going to take it on the chin. There's probably a reevaluation will be completed this year. Probably the budget for 2025 will include the new the tax rate, value of the homes. The homes, I've seen so many people that have misspoken. The last reevaluation was in 2020. The last one before that, previous one was 2012. I've seen some people talking about my home was appraised in 2016, 2017, 2018, but anyway, that's not accurate. And the municipalities do not revalue your home. That is solely responsibility of the county. So there's a reevaluation being done now. But the taxpayer is definitely, taxes are definitely an issue. But the number one issue that I do here is the growth, and it does need to be controlled. And we need to, Monroe is definitely the economic engine that drives this county. And I'm glad to hear the others up here talk about the Monroe Airport. I have been preaching this for some time, but it is the largest, huge resource in this county, and it's not owned by the county. It's owned by Monroe. People are like, why in the world are you going to do this to Monroe? I'm like, every plane that is parked there, we get the tax revenue off of it. It's a huge, huge revenue source. One G5 jet will bring enough tax revenue, the same as the Target shopping center. No cars, no traffic, no schools. We've got to get some hangars built out there, and we also have to have a maintenance facility. But anyway, thank you.
What do you think are the concerns and priorities of taxpayers?
I've already said it. Your money and your kids. I'm a parent. My son's 22. I'm concerned about his future every single day, especially with what is going on in our country. I'm petrified for my son and what his kids are going to face coming down the road. We need to be concerned. We as Republicans have sat idly and let entirely too many things go on in this country that shouldn't be here, that we shouldn't even be questioning anymore. What we need to do, what I believe we need to do, is we need to come together and stop some of these things that are going on in our schools, some of these things that are going on in our community, like drag queen story time, the furries at school. We need to get back to a sound education. Our school system is the best in the state. Our staff for Union County Public Schools works in so hard. We need to control growth. I've already said it before, we're upside down. We're 90% residential, 10% business. It takes $10,000 a year to educate each child, not each household, each child. Our taxes don't cover that. We're robbing Peter to pay Paul. We've got to bring more industry into this county. Like I said before, I've already asked some state legislators to look into writing Union County a waiver to bring business in for water and sewer so that we can have a more stable tax base for our kids and for us as taxpayers. That's what we've got to do. And as Republicans, we've got to stand up and do this together.
There are two things that that I would like to focus on. Number one, taxes, which you hear a lot about, especially from our seniors, which the numbers show that those individuals who are reaching age 70 are moving out of Union County at alarming rates because they can't afford the taxes. The other thing we have leaving out of our county is those persons from 18 to 35. So it is a real math equation in order to solve this, which is why I'm hoping that you will elect Edwin Elam as the county commissioner, simply because two things that would help to solve this issue and put a real impact on everything that we've heard here today. Since we're number one, or top of number one in the world in agriculture, we should have an agricultural museum, which actually talks about some of the processes as well as the education and the history of what is going on in agriculture in Union County. People would use the airport to fly into from all over the world, which means that you make money at the airport. If you got a $20 to $25 ticket, it would generate hundreds of millions of dollars, which could be used to offset the taxes of those seniors and possibly even build schools and even fix roads by working together in the collaborations that we've been talking about. The other thing is that has been floated with some of the top minds in our county, and it has got a light bulb going off in some of the most powerful minds in our county, and whether you know them or not, they like that particular idea. The other thing is that we have to begin to be proactive. We need new critical thinkers, people who are visionary thinkers, which is why I'm also asking for your vote. The bottom line is that Randy Travis is still alive and well. He comes every year to Marshville. He's from Marshville. A tremendous event center with his input while he is still with us, with the kind of history that he has all over the world. The bottom line is that he could participate in a solution when he does pass, and we know that will be sometime down the road. The bottom line is that they're going to put something in his honor somewhere in the country, around the world. And shame on us we don't do something before that time happens and get him involved.
Most of you have served in local government. In one sentence, what is the most important role of local government?
The most important role in local government is to provide the kinds of educational processes on either fluoride, information for health and wellness, how people can take advantage of their government. You would be surprised that we assume that everybody in our county is just like us, and that is absolutely not true.
One sentence.
What is it?
One sentence.
Oh, I said one sentence. Okay. All right.
I'll just repeat it again.
All right.
Most of you have served in local government. In one sentence, what is the most important role of local government?
So I'll stop with that. I think everybody heard it loud and clear.
As a Republican, less government.
I don't have the quote exactly, but Abraham Lincoln said, one of the purposes of the government is to take care of those, look after those who are not able to take care of themselves, and that's abortion. Look after those.
Listen to your neighbors.
Ensuring the future sustainability so we don't burden our future generation of children.
Would you set up rehab for those who break the law, especially youth, instead of more cells?
Like prison cells?
Yeah.
As a nurse, I see many people and take care of many patients that addiction is a terrible disease. I think anything that we can do to help people kick their demons and their disease, that we can try to do that. It does have a big cost to put people in jail, but speaking or piggybacking off what Mr. Side said, we do need to have a juvenile detention because the catch and release needs to be addressed, because that is creating a problem. But I do think if people have a disease and need help, that we should have something available for them to get the help they need.
I think I touched on that. And this whole issue of the jail may be on its way to being resolved or already in process or outside the control of the new board, since this new board wouldn't go in December. I have a feeling there will already be a process in place. But as I've stated earlier, I think a juvenile detention facility is critical. Now, this is a juvenile detention facility. It's a short term until the juvenile system decides what they're going to do with it. And may not be a long-term sustainable option. But what I do know in talking with the sheriff and Monroe law enforcement, that the juvenile drug, gang, and other crime problems are at catastrophic levels. Because first of all, you all know we have gangs, you all know that we have the cartels and drugs. The city of Monroe busted somebody, 2 weeks ago with over 600 fentanyl capsules. You all do know that that's here already, right? And they use the juveniles because they've learned that there's no consequences. They're literally, unless it is a homicide, juveniles are basically released to their parents or parent, whatever they have. And in some cases, given a ride home. We have to have a juvenile facility to adapt, in order to be able to adapt in the changing laws of how juveniles under the age of 18 are handled in the criminal justice system. It's basically an unfunded mandate, but here it is. The state changed the law of how they're handled, so now the counties have to learn to cope with it. The closest facility is in Concord. It's full. I had a Monroe officer tell me there was 2 homicides last year where they had to transport them all the way to Madison County. Madison County, because that was the closest juvenile detention facility, or they'd have to release them to parents.
Can you read the question one more time, please?
Would you set up rehab for those who break the law, especially youth, instead of more cells, jail cells?
So the rehab, I'm assuming you're talking about the drug problem we have. I have a family member that has had to go through that. It's drug addiction affects the entire family. And one of my daughters has suffered through that. She's clean, sober, and doing well. But I've been that and lived that. It's a family problem. So yes, definitely need to have some rehab set up for that, because their lives they're already damaged, they don't need to be destroyed. As far as the jail, if there's some crimes, some criminals and some violent crimes, they need to be put in jail. I mentioned that the jail that we will have to construct, I have no problem at all looking at the possibility of putting a juvenile detention facility in there, just due to the cost and what it's going to take. But I'd go one step further and definitely make sure that jail can house federal prisoners, because we can charge the federal government to house those prisoners, offset some of the costs, and that may offset some of the costs if we have to put in a juvenile facility. But definitely, since we are looking at the possibility of building a new jail, that I would wholeheartedly ask them to look at the possibility of a juvenile facility. Does it make sense while you're drawing it out and see what we can do?
I've had a family member who went through rehab. I also had a first cousin who overdosed and died from drugs. I had an uncle that died of cirrhosis of the liver. It is a family problem. The people that are here today and watching, obviously you have a concern and you're willing to step up to the plate, but we've got to get other people involved. We've got to get churches more involved to stop this. And the problem is a generational thing. You have multiple generations in prison now. You have grandparents, mom and dads, and then their kids. What's the answer? How do we stop this? How do we stop drugs coming into our school? Is rehab the answer? At a young age, yes, if the parents are involved, getting help for their kids, getting help to how they're going to behave afterwards. We've got to hold parents' feet to the fire as well. When their kids do something wrong, they've got to be held accountable. Drugs will affect anybody. It doesn't matter your demographic, your age, your race, your religion. It is here in Union County. We've got to find a way to educate people in a different way than what we had, back in the day, the DARE program. We've got to find something different. We've got to include the parents and the grandparents, whoever's in the home, to help stop this cycle. And it's a cycle that will continue until we have parent involvement, until we have church involvement, until we have grandparents stepping up to the plate and making a difference in their kids' life and tell them, you can't do that. You're affecting us too. It's hurting the family. And when you're on drugs, you don't see that. You only see what I can get, what high can I get next. You're only self-absorbed. And it's until you go through rehab and see what you've done to your family that it comes to life.
I definitely think that you need some type of rehab programs. This is another opportunity where the entire community and those communities from around the country that have been successful in collaborating to try and address this issue. There's a saying that says, underneath the golden grains of good, we all love each other better when we're better understood. But in very few instances in our county is anyone trying to come out of their silo to try to be understood. This is with what we've heard here today. But you have to bring the kinds of minds of professionals. There's a tremendous amount of MBA talent in Union County from some of the finest universities on the planet, and almost everyone is here. But because some of us were born here, some of us just getting here, and some of us have got connection, those individuals are hiding in the wings. They make their $500,000 a year and they go home and they don't participate in any of the things that you and I do, or the programs and nonprofits. The bottom line is we have to open up to the various talents and skill set that live in some of these high-priced communities that we've already allowed to be built. They need to be coming forth with ideas as well. They want to, but we have to have an inviting and open spirit in our community that we really want these problems solved. Just because your name is this and your name is that, and if you can't solve it, doesn't mean that there are not others out there who can't solve those issues. We have to all work together. This government that we have, this service that we are hoping to serve you, the people, on this limited time, is not our real estate. We're just holding the spot to try to find the solutions until those who have come after us, your children and grandchildren, who then will have the kinds of minds to attack these problems. The best thing we can hope for is they will say that all of us here thought about them.
So we're coming to closing remarks, but before we do that, is there anyone that is running for office that would like to just, once they're done, you can just come up and just say a few words, introduce yourself? Okay, so Edwin, go ahead. You have 2 minutes. You'll have 2 minutes for closing remarks.
My name is Edwin Elam, and I'm asking for your vote for County Commissioner. I've been a Republican all my life. I had one of the most prestigious jobs that anyone could ever hope for when I was tapped as the Information Clearinghouse Coordinator for the Small Minority and Women-Owned Businesses for the Memphis Area Chamber of Commerce under Governor Lamar Alexander, who was a sitting U.S. Senator. He was the Republican governor of North Carolina. I was the gentleman tapped for that job, and that work is still going on. We've solved a tremendous amount of issues in our lifetime. We built YMCAs that were due to white flight, and the government left them abandoned for these same types of kids that we're talking about. able to get the mayor to write a $250,000 check. I was chairman of the board, and we put 100 people together who touched every social, economic, political, and religious faction in our town. The bottom line is we got it done. We got to Union County, and we owned 25 acres of the Jim Crow land that was actually stopped by the town of Waxhaw more than 83 years ago from being developed. It was a very hard puzzle. Nobody solved it in 83 years. You're looking at the person that actually got all of that information before the bodies that got that done. The county spent $6.5 million to solve it, and there's a $39 million townhome project that's going on right now that wouldn't have been solved for 83 years. So we talk about slow growth. It took 83 years to get that going, but we got it done. There are also a lot of other things that are happening in our county that you do not see. For some of us who serve in different things in our county, there are people who have challenges, things that we cannot even share with you in this room, that people have band together who are trying to make sure that all the county gets served to get some of their challenges solved. I'm asking for your vote this election period. Early voting has started. Vote for Edwin Elam.